Shadows in pursuit. Nancy's heart pounded like a war drum as the flickering neon lights outside her rain-speckled apartment window painted her face in hues of red and blue. In her line of work as a detective, she'd grown accustomed to the symphony of urban chaos. But tonight, the city felt different, like a predator lurking in the shadows. Her phone buzzed sharply on the coffee table, shattering the fragile silence. It was her partner, Oscar, and judging by the urgency in his voice, the storm brewing outside was nothing compared to the tempest awaiting them. "Nancy," Oscar's gravelly tone crackled through the receiver, "we've got a situation. He's back." Her breath hitched. "You mean Kane?" "Yeah. The escape was confirmed an hour ago. We've got to move fast before he vanishes again." "Kane? Kane?" The name alone was enough to send a chill crawling down her spine. A master manipulator, ruthless killer, and the ghost she and Oscar had been chasing for nearly 3 years. Every time they'd gotten close, Kane slipped through their fingers, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. Nancy grabbed her coat and holstered her weapon, determination solidifying her resolve. "Where do we start?" "There's been a sighting near the old docks," Oscar said. "And, Nancy, be ready for anything." The docks were a labyrinth of decaying warehouses and abandoned shipping containers, their silhouettes ghostly under the moon's pale glow. Nancy stepped carefully, her senses sharpened to a razor's edge. Oscar's footsteps echoed beside her, steady and deliberate. "This place gives me the creeps," he muttered, scanning the area with his flashlight. Nancy smirked, though her eyes betrayed her unease. "Since when did you start spooking so easily?" "Since we started chasing a psycho who enjoys turning his crimes into puzzles," Oscar replied. "Stay sharp. Kane's not just a killer, he's a strategist." As if on cue, a faint sound broke the stillness. A soft clatter, like metal brushing against stone. Nancy raised her hand, signaling Oscar to halt. She drew her gun, the weight familiar and reassuring. "Over there," she whispered, nodding toward a stack of containers. They moved as one, silent and precise. Nancy rounded the corner first, her weapon trained on the shadows. But the space was empty, save for a small ticking device perched on a crate. "Oscar," she hissed, "it's a trap!" The device erupted with a deafening explosion, the force sending them sprawling. Nancy's ears rang as she struggled to her feet, smoke and debris clouding her vision. "Oscar!" she shouted, coughing as she searched for him. "I'm okay." His voice came from somewhere to her left. He emerged from the smoke, a cut on his forehead, but otherwise intact. Kane wanted to send a message. Nancy's jaw clenched. "Well, he's got my attention." The chase led them deeper into the city, Kane's breadcrumbs of chaos leaving a trail of destruction. Each clue he left behind was meticulously crafted, designed to taunt and test their resolve. At an abandoned theater, they found a chilling tableau. Mannequins dressed as actors, posed in grotesque mimicry of a murder scene. A note pinned to one of them read, "The stage is set. Are you ready to play?" "He's playing games with us," Oscar growled, crumpling the note in his fist. "And he's enjoying every second of it," Nancy added, scanning the room for hidden traps. "But games have rules, and every move he makes brings us closer." They scoured the theater, uncovering a map hidden beneath the stage. Marked with red X's, it pointed to various locations across the city. One stood out, an abandoned high-rise on the outskirts of town. "That's got to be his next move," Nancy said, adrenaline surging. "Let's end this." The high-rise loomed like a monolith against the night sky, its broken windows staring like empty eyes. Nancy and Oscar approached cautiously, their every step echoing in the cavernous lobby. "Stay close," Oscar warned, his gun drawn. They ascended the building, the air growing colder with each floor. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the creak of old metal and the distant hum of the city below. On the top floor, they found him. Kane stood by a shattered window, the city lights casting his lean figure in stark relief. He turned slowly, a smirk curling his lips. "Detectives," he drawled, "you finally caught up. I was starting to think you'd lost your touch." Nancy leveled her gun at him. "It's over, Kane." His laughter was low and mocking. "Over? Oh, Nancy, this is just the beginning." Before they could react, he pressed a button on a device in his hand. The building shuddered violently, the floor beneath them tilting as explosions ripped through the structure. "Run!" Oscar shouted, grabbing Nancy's arm as the ceiling began to collapse. They sprinted toward the stairs, debris raining down around them. Kane's laughter echoed in their ears, a haunting refrain as they fought to escape the crumbling high-rise. They burst onto the street just as the building collapsed in a deafening roar, a cloud of dust engulfing the area. Gasping for breath, Nancy turned to Oscar. "Did we get him?" Oscar's expression was grim. "Not yet. But he's running out of places to hide." Nancy's eyes burned with determination. "Then we keep chasing." The night stretched on, the city's lights flickering like a heartbeat. Kane was out there, somewhere, and Nancy and Oscar would stop at nothing to bring him to justice. The hunt had only just begun.
The Lost Temple of Amazonia. The roar of the helicopter's blades echoed across the dense, unbroken expanse of the Amazon rainforest. Below, a sea of green, interrupted only by winding rivers, stretched endlessly toward the horizon. Dr. Ethan Parker, a world-renowned archaeologist, gripped the straps of his seatbelt tighter as the chopper swayed slightly, adjusting to the sudden change in wind patterns. He wasn't afraid, but he knew that this mission carried risks beyond anything he had ever faced. Beside him, Maria Alvarez, a seasoned explorer and former military guide, was scanning the treetops through her binoculars. The tension between the two was palpable. Maria had been skeptical of Ethan's plan from the start. She believed that the ancient temple they were searching for was merely a legend, one that had claimed the lives of many adventurers before them. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, lowering her binoculars and looking directly at him. Her sharp eyes reflected both concern and a hint of excitement. Ethan nodded. "The coordinates matched the description in the ancient texts. This temple holds the key to understanding one of the greatest lost civilizations in history. It's here, Maria. I can feel it." Maria shook her head, but a small smile tugged at her lips. She had been on enough expeditions to know that sometimes instinct mattered just as much as facts. Yet the stories of the Lost Temple of Amazonia, a mythical structure said to be hidden deep within the rainforest, were riddled with tales of curses, traps, and unexplained disappearances. The pilot's voice crackled through their headsets. "We're nearing the drop zone. 30 seconds until we land." Ethan adjusted his gear, checking his map and equipment one final time. Maria pulled her machete from its sheath, securing it to her belt. The two exchanged a glance, acknowledging the unspoken understanding that whatever lay ahead would demand every bit of their strength, skill, and wits. The helicopter descended into a small clearing, the rotor wash stirring up leaves and debris. As the skids touched down, Ethan and Maria jumped out, their boots sinking slightly into the soft, damp earth. The jungle was alive with the sounds of insects, birds, and the occasional distant growl of an unseen predator. "Good luck," the pilot called, giving them a thumbs up before lifting off into the air once more. The noise of the helicopter faded, leaving the two explorers standing alone in the heart of the Amazon, the jungle pressing in on all sides. Maria adjusted her backpack. "All right, Professor, lead the way." Ethan unfolded his map and compass, orienting himself in the direction indicated by the ancient documents he had spent years studying. The temple, if it existed, was deep within the forest, beyond the reach of modern technology and satellites. No one had ever returned from its rumored location, but Ethan was determined to be the first. They trekked through the jungle for hours, cutting through thick vines and wading across streams. The air was thick with humidity, and the oppressive heat drained their energy. But with each step, Ethan felt the pull of the temple grow stronger, as if some unseen force was guiding him. Suddenly, Maria stopped, holding up her hand. "Wait." Ethan froze, listening carefully. The jungle had gone eerily quiet. No birds, no insects, nothing but the sound of their own breathing. Maria's hand instinctively moved to her machete, her eyes scanning the dense foliage. Out of the corner of his eye, Ethan saw a flicker of movement, a shadow darting between the trees. "Did you see that?" he whispered. Maria nodded, her face tense. "We're not alone." Before either of them could react, a figure emerged from the underbrush, moving with the stealth of a predator. Clad in dark, weathered clothing, the man's face was painted with tribal markings, and in his hands was a blowgun aimed directly at them. Ethan raised his hands slowly, trying to appear non-threatening. "We're not here to harm anyone. We're just explorers." The man narrowed his eyes, his blowgun unwavering. Just as Maria was about to draw her machete, another figure appeared, a woman, similarly dressed, though her expression was less hostile. She spoke quickly in a language Ethan didn't understand, but her tone was calm, almost authoritative. The man lowered his weapon but did not relax. The woman stepped forward, addressing them in broken English. "You seek the temple. Many have come. All have failed." Ethan nodded. "We know the risks, but we believe we can find it." The woman regarded him for a long moment, before glancing at Maria, who still had her hand on her machete. "The jungle is not kind to outsiders. If you wish to survive, you must trust us." Maria gave Ethan a sideways glance. "This is your call." Ethan nodded. "We don't have a choice. If they know the way to the temple, we need their help." Reluctantly, Maria lowered her weapon, and the woman gestured for them to follow. Their new guides led them deeper into the jungle, moving with a grace and speed that Ethan and Maria struggled to match. As they walked, the woman explained that her people were the descendants of those who had built the temple centuries ago, tasked with protecting its secrets. "The temple is not just stone and gold," she said. "It is alive. It tests those who enter. Many do not return." Ethan's heart raced with a mixture of excitement and fear. This was more than he had ever anticipated. The lost Temple of Amazonia was not just an archaeological site. It was a living entity, one that had claimed the lives of countless adventurers over the centuries. After several hours of trekking, the jungle began to change. The trees grew taller, their roots twisting through the ground like ancient veins. Strange markings appeared on the trunks, symbols that Ethan recognized from his research. They were close. Suddenly the jungle parted, revealing a massive stone structure hidden beneath the canopy. The temple was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Its walls were covered in intricate carvings, depicting gods, animals, and scenes of sacrifice. Vines draped over its surface, but the architecture was unmistakably advanced, far beyond what was thought possible for the time period. Maria let out a low whistle. "Well, I'll be damned." Ethan's hands trembled as he approached the entrance, a large stone archway framed by two statues of jaguars. The air around the temple felt heavy, charged with an energy that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. "This is it," he whispered. "The lost Temple of Amazonia." But as they stepped closer, the ground beneath their feet shifted. A rumbling sound echoed from deep within the temple, and the statue's eyes began to glow with an eerie light. "We've triggered something," Maria muttered, drawing her machete. The woman who had led them shook her head gravely. "The temple has awakened. Now, it will test you." Ethan's pulse quickened as the temple doors slowly creaked open, revealing a dark, foreboding passageway. Whatever awaited them inside would push them to their limits, both physically and mentally. There was no turning back now. With a deep breath, Ethan stepped forward into the shadows, Maria close behind him. The adventure of a lifetime had just begun.